Hey, y'all, what up? It's turn bar time. And I'm the turn.
I'm the Bart.
And we're going to be here a long time. What up, everybody? Happy last week of school, Bark. Before break, I should say. Dude, you please come back in
Last
January.
week of school in the calendar year of 2023.
Crazy. Where did the time go? When this started in 2020, it be cray cray. All right, guys, I don't know if you know this, but it's season 5. Episode, my favorite number, episode 4. We have kind of a cool story to talk about today. It's actually, when Bark texted me this, I was like, interesting, and I told it to my wife, and she was like, She's like, that's not. Is that history related? And I was like, doesn't have to be. We just talk about stuff. So. And according, Barker and I spent some time playing with some AI features, and they were very positive in reviewing our YouTube videos. They said we were engaging, gosh darn it.
So when the robots take over,
Yeah,
we're going to sell y'all out.
Yep.
Because they like us more than you do.
Really?
So just be warned. Be warned.
Yep. All right. So we're going to talk about not necessarily a historical topic, but more about a creature that falls into a historical topic, Mr. Barker.
And potentially what it could do for the future.
If I had a keyboard, guys, I would have gone. But I don't.
So this topic came up because I have a 10-year-old daughter. Shout out to my daughter, Emma. And she really likes axolotls. And the first time I saw axolotl, I just thought it was somebody who went through the dictionary and said, what's the most ridiculous animal I could put out there that's even more ridiculous than aardvark?
Hey.
Right? It comes in like, everybody's like, oh, you like aardvark. And you're like, well, that's really weird. And then somebody was like,
axolotl.
Uno reversed card.
Yeah.
Axolotl.
Yeah.
And so axolotls, as you'll see in our title card, are these weird kind of like frilly maned salamanders.
Now, I have a really good way of describing them.
Okay.
Because of what what something was based off of them. And you know what I'm going to reference, right?
I'm hoping it's Pokemon.
It is not. Pokemon is one of my references. However, there's another reference to them. Axolotls are actually one of the base designs for Toothless in the How to Train Your Dragon series.
Oh, yes.
So he is also one. But yes, the Pokemon I'm thinking of is Mudkip. Am I right on that one?
Yep.
And I just want to point that out. That's not in the original 150. And I am a staunch believer in the original 150. 151, sorry.
So, the axolotl, and I'm going to throw history in there because I'm a nerd, and that's what we do here. So the axolotl, while it's booming, like there's over 1 million axolotls in captivity or in research facilities around the world, but they're in danger of becoming extinct in their natural environment. And one of the things, if you didn't know, axolotl has an X in it, and it also has a TL in it. And if you've ever taken a course from me that talked about Mesoamerica, you would know that this means that axolotl is a pre-Spanish word from Mexico. And it comes from the Nahuatl language group, which is the language that the Aztecs spoke. Anytime that you see a Spanish name with an X, like Citlali or Xochi, it means that it's a pre-Spanish word. It's true native indigenous, like Mexica, like name. And so the actual pronunciation in Nahuatl of axolotl is Axolot. Because it's actually named after, the name is inspired by one of the gods. It's actually Quetzalcoatl's, I think, twin brother.
Yes.
Xolotl.
Who turns himself
into an axolotl, into a salamander.
Because
didn't want to be sacrificed
by the other gods.
Yes. So he would dip in.
Yep. Deuces.
He would stand on the deal. And so axolotls in the wild are only found in Lake Xochimilco, which originally would have been part of the Lakes Texcoco water system. It's only 2% of what it was back in the day when Tenochtitlan was built by the
Yep.
Aztecs, where they saw the eagle eating the snake, as the great myth told them.
On a cactus.
And they actually live in the canals around Chinampas.
Well, there you go.
And Chinampas, again, if you've studied the Aztecs, you know that they built floating gardens. And that's where these water servants or water dogs, water monsters, or little Mexican walking fish live.
Walking. I did not see Mexican walking fish. I like that.
Now, the thing that makes these salamanders so interesting is that, again, like their little mane is actually gills. They actually have gills that are external to their body. And a lot of salamanders do this in their juvenile phase. And then as they go through maturation, metamorphosis, thank you. That's an SAT word, children.
Also a good short story.
Those external gills come back inside, and then they just develop regular gills, and they turn into amphibious salamanders that can breathe air. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And for whatever reason, axolotls don't come out of that juvenile phase. So they're neotenic. They're like permanent juveniles, but they're not juveniles because the definition in like biology of an adult is the ability to reproduce. And so while staying in this juvenile phase for up to 20, they live for up to 25 years.
Yeah.
So they're like Edward from Twilight, forever a teenager.
Yes.
And so like they don't come out of this teenage phase. They don't come out of like this juvenile phase where like a lot of amphibians do. So like frogs start as eggs and they become tadpoles, and then they become these like weird kind of like middle things, right? Where they have like the tail and the arms and legs, and then eventually the tail goes away and they become, kind of like
Frogs.
more quadrupedal than like
Yeah.
water mobile. I don't know what the scientific word is for that. Chris Stark, where are you?
Yes. He'd know it.
Now, the reason, like, I was wondering, like, why did axolotls like become so popular? That was where I really thought about this, because my daughter's like, "Oh, I love axolotls," and I'm like, "Dude, who is funding this project?" And apparently, they just added them like a year ago into Minecraft.
Oh, okay.
Which means young children are like crazy for them.
Yeah, because they're something that they can recognize.
And so, largely, it's because people are trying to make people more aware of the plight of the wild axolotls, because they're in danger of going extinct. In a Vox News article, they called them the equivalent of a canary in a coal mine for the health of the water quality in Lake Xochimilco, saying that
there you
if
go.
there's like if the water gets more polluted, the axolotls are going to die because the water's more polluted. Some people have come back and also say the problem is there's been the introduction of tilapia and like Asian carp. So invasive species are eating all the little axolotls, all these little happy like salamander dudes who apparently are like they don't care what it is, if it's alive or dead. If it's meat, they'll eat it.
They'll eat it,
yeah, like they're pretty vicious in that regard. They'll actually eat each other. They'll eat each other's limbs. And so like they're like the Deadpool of the salamander world.
Now hold on, what can they do though?
Like that's why they're Deadpool. They can regrow their limbs. They can regrow lungs. They can regrow eye parts. They can regrow part of their brains.
Yep.
Numerous times. And as they get older, their regenerative properties become less.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was interesting because they say that tadpoles also have the ability to regrow limbs.
Oh, really?
Once like a frog reaches maturity, it won't it'll kind of regrow the limb, but it kind of just regrows like a stump. Like it doesn't regrow like the actual like digits, where axolotls will regrow all of the digits. And so that's kind of like why science, like that's why there's so many of them in laboratories, is because they're using them to try and do like stem cell research.
Yeah.
Because essentially the axolotls like, I don't know, genome doesn't care, like it's not really selective. Like when you inject other genetic material that doesn't belong to axolotls, it doesn't like reject it.
Yeah.
So like there's evidence where they've regrown like what was it? It was stem cells from a pig eye, like inside of the axolotl. Or they took and they made them like glow, like green fluorescent, like jellyfish. They like took jellyfish like DNA and put it into the axolotl and made it so they're like they glow in the dark kind of a deal,
Yeah.
or they glow under a certain light. Their genome is 32 billion base pairs. Compared to the average human, the human genome is 3 billion pairs.
Yeah.
So it literally has it's 10 times the size of the human genome.
Right.
And so they're looking at this as if we can harness this or find some way to figure out what axolotls are using to trigger the stem cells that we potentially could improve health for humans. Like, right, one of the biggest problems we have with our population is that we live too long, and then like our human cells suck at regenerating. Once we reach maturation, like our bodies go, no, we need to stop producing cells, and then everything starts to decline over time.
Right.
They're saying, is there some sort of a like marker that we could use for like gene therapy or something to that regard to help solve, like degenerative diseases in humanity? And so, I mean, that's really where that's why the axolotl is being used and has been used for 150 years.
Yeah.
Ever since somebody took 33 of them to Paris in 1864.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the biggest problems that they have in captivity is that they're all inbred.
Yeah.
Like there's literally like a few dozen, like, so these 33 axolotls that were taken, like, right, everybody's related.
Yeah.
Like royal families in Europe.
Yeah.
But and they say that this is the problem, right? Some people are like, well, release the lab axolotls into Mexico, like back into Mexico. And the problem is that a lot of the like pet store, because you can buy an axolotl, I looked it up.
Yep.
Anywhere from $80 to $180, as long as you don't live in California, New Jersey, DC, or Maine, because they don't allow them there. Or you have to get a permit in
New Mexico and Hawaii.
There you go. You also can't buy one in BC. But and then what was it? It was like in one of the provinces, it's legal in the province, but not in like one of the major cities. I can't remember which one it was, but it was interesting because it was like in one city it's illegal, but the rest of, as soon as you leave that city, the rest of the province it's fine. And it was interesting because like I was like, well, why does California not? Are they trying to prevent the spread of axolotls like in like this trade? Like it makes me think of like Tiger King.
Right. Exactly.
As somebody out there being the the axolotl, Jimmy the axolotl king. But it's actually the opposite because, huh?
Sorry, I had to know the answer of what they're not allowed in Winnipeg, but if you go anywhere else in Manitoba, they're allowed.
Yeah. So yeah.
Oh, and it's not just BC. You can't own them in New Brunswick, British Columbia, Prince Edward Island, and you got to have a permit to have them in Nova Scotia.
But in Saskatchewan, it's all right.
Saskatchewan, you can.
Have as many axolotls in Saskatchewan. There's always something to do. Shout out to Leroy and Leroy.
There's always something to do.
Always something to do. Raise axolotls.
Yep.
But the reason that California doesn't allow them is that they're a breed of like what's called tiger salamanders, and California has like two of its own endangered species, and they're worried that they would come out and either outcompete or interbreed.
Yeah.
And then cause another salamander species to go extinct. So it's really kind of.
And if you draw back to our previous lesson on cocaine hippos, we've already talked about bringing in invasive species. Please don't do it.
Yes. No bueno. No es bueno. So I mean, like that's really what started for me. As like my daughter is like in love with these little like weird freakish creatures. I have a student who has one who says that it's pretty dumb and just kind of sits around most of the time.
Would too if you were stuck in a tank all day.
Yeah, I mean, like, what are you supposed to do with it? Like, you can't exactly take it for a walk.
You could.
But you actually, oh man, what was I? somebody was saying like they gave it, what is it? Right here, thyroids.
Yeah, your thyroid.
Yeah, they gave it some. I can't remember if they said I think one study said they fed it like thyroid like material,
Okay.
and it ate it, and then it caused them to like essentially like one of the articles called it like the moonstone, which I think is a Pokemon reference.
Yeah.
And it caused them to evolve.
Yeah.
And it literally had the axolotl like went into its mature stage.
Oh.
And like so it's like if it's given like
So it lost
it
lost its gills and everything.
Yeah, so like the external gills went in, and
Okay.
it looked like a basic
Salamander.
like salamander, and then like became terrestrial,
Wow.
right? And then its regenerative properties also decreased.
Yeah.
So apparently, like the key to humanity is unlocking salamander puberty.
Yeah, but like, so yes, I understand that, but it's like then we're stuck in the Robert Pattinson thing again, where we're like living as teenagers. And let's be real, I know who I was as a teenager, and I don't want to be that for the rest of my life.
But I think they're trying to say like because like humans, we have stem cells apparently underneath our fingernails to some degree that if we sustain damage to a finger, you can like kind of like partially regrow a finger, a digit.
Yeah.
Um, but like we don't have the same, we're not wired the same as the axolotl who can like regrow. Like
Yeah.
I just imagine like something like taking a bite out of it and it just like, I'll be all right.
Yeah, it's like, and it's, by the way, we want to emphasize the fact that this is not like you're playing a video game and they respawn and their arm just like pops out like Deadpool. Like this does take months for them to regrow this, but they do regrow it completely.
Yeah. And again, the more times it sustains damage at the same spot, it will begin to decrease the quality of the limb.
Yep.
So it's not like, yeah, it's not quite the comic book, but it almost feels like the inspiration for like Wolverine or Deadpool
Yep.
or like any of these healing factor
Yep.
Comic book characters. And but scientists have been working and are like, now that we understand like genes and like we have CRISPR and all that fun stuff, like they're really trying to figure out like is there a medical application that we can use to fight against like these diseases that are really hard to, that are terminal illnesses that are degenerative, that we can like help people come back. Like can we figure out how to like
MS.
get rid of like MS or like declining vision, you know what I mean? Like I don't want to be so vain to say like at some point somebody will try and probably make it as just like a vanity, like try and look young for everything.
Right.
But like I would hope that the first thing we do is solve like or use it to try and solve degenerative diseases. So while the axolotl is cute, like it's interesting because they kept using the phrase that like it's everywhere, but it's disappearing.
Yeah.
And like everybody says we want to save them, but then like nobody cares about like it's not saving the water quality outside of Mexico City where they actually live.
Yeah, it's just having them in captivity.
Right. And apparently in Minecraft, apparently I don't play Minecraft that much. I play it very, very rarely. I've played it like a handful of times.
So.
But apparently in Minecraft, the rarest one you can get is blue. And so all these kids come into the stores going, we want a blue axolotl. And then these guys that run these pet shops have to tell them, they don't actually come in that color.
Sucks to suck, nerd.
So like in the wild, axolotls are very natural colors because they want to hide and not get eaten.
Right. Yeah.
In laboratories, they've bred them where they're essentially pink, like pink with black eyes, albino, so like whiter pink with red eyes. And then some, like I think in the title card, I have one that's like black on black.
Oh, okay.
It's all murdered out. But it's one of those things that humans do. Like as soon as we get an organism, we sit there and go, ooh, colors. And then we start like trying to breed for different color options. So anyways, I just thought it was kind of interesting. I know that I didn't tell my daughter that I was recording an episode on axolotls, but now that I will tell her tomorrow morning.
Good.
She'll probably be very interested. And the more I got into it, it kind of scratched an itch because I enjoy things from Mexico.
Yeah.
And it got it to talk a little bit about Nahuatl etymology and how there's still some of those pre-Columbian roots kicking
Yeah,
around in Mexico.
it's awesome.
And then like it was just interesting to learn that like instead of just being kind of like this weird creature to look at, that it potentially
Yeah,
could be
life.
life changing for a number of people if we can unlock,
Totally.
the
There-
genome.
Yeah.
So I mean we've mapped it. We've mapped it.
Mhm.
I think it was people at University of Kentucky. Go Wildcats. So
Okay.
maybe we should petition, change it from the Wildcat to the
To the
Axolotl.
Yeah. Oh, dude. More intimidating creature. Can you imagine that as a mascot on the sideline? Love it. I love it.
Wild axolotls.
All right. It's so cool. Hey, so folks, we are going to take a little hiatus, probably a little 2-week hiatus, take our time off and everything like that. But we're looking forward to coming back. We're glad we're back and everything like that. Just season 5, no big deal. Episode 4, so we gotta keep going, right? Like most seasons are sitting at least 20, right?
Something like that.
Yeah, so we'll get a bunch in. So, but hey, Bart, any plans for the little break that we're gonna get or the new year?
We're planning on staying pretty close to home. There's a new place in Castle Rock that's allowing doing axe throwing, so we might check that out.
Ooh, fun.
Yeah, I think we're gonna hang out. We're hosting my side for Christmas, but like 3 days after Christmas because my brother
Yeah.
has to work.
Yep.
And then we're gonna go down to my brother-in-law's place for Christmas Eve.
Cool.
So I mean, everything's staying within, on the western side
Yeah.
of the Cascades.
Yeah. So we're gallivanting. We're leaving on Friday to London and then going over to Frankfurt or just outside of Frankfurt, Schweinfurt, and everything like that. So maybe I'll pick up a story out in the middle of nowhere and we can talk about it.
Go Galaxy.
Yeah, but then we'll fly back and we'll do Christmas Eve over on the west side with my parents and hang out for a couple of days and then probably jet back and just put our feet up and relax. So just have a nice relaxing winter break. So, but to everyone out there, regardless of what you're celebrating, I believe it is 1, 2, 3. Is it the fourth night of Hanukkah? Fourth night? Fifth night?
Sounds about right.
I think it's the fourth night. I hope I'm right. Fourth night of Hanukkah. I'm going to stick with it. I hope that you happy Hanukkah to those who celebrate. Merry Christmas or Happy Christmas, depending on if you drink or not, to those of you that celebrate, and Merry Festivus for the rest of us. So, for all of us here at Turnback Time, that's 2 people. We want to wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. So, Bark, anything else?
The holidays can be stressful. Remember that your presence is probably appreciated way more than some product that you spent way too much money on that society tells you that you need to parrot the great thoughts of one Mr. Rogers. Like, you're perfect just the way you are.
Yes.
Enjoy your experiences and like being with other people, whether that's your family or the family that you choose.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just keep your head up, be positive, focus on the good things. Yeah. People are.
Last but certainly not least, make sure you celebrate Boxing Day. If you don't know what it is,
episode on that. You can go
look it up. There's an episode on it. It's really fun. It's the best holiday ever because it's a holiday of you doing whatever you want to do. So, all right, Bark. Until next time, I'm the Turn.
I'm the Bart.
And we're going to be here a long time. Have a good night, everybody.
Be safe.
And you just be well.